Chapter 258 Paradise on Earth. Wang Qiu's pretty face seemed like it was covered with a layer of frost. Do I look like someone who doesn't finish what I start? She grabbed Huo Yuao's left hand authoritatively as she spoke, and the two of them initiated their martial soul fusion. Huo Yuao heaved a sigh. He wasn't willing to receive too much help from her so that he could prevent their feelings from developing. However, he was still relieved when Wang Qiu did catch up with him. His exploration attempt would be a lot more relaxed than before with her around, and he would also be a lot safer than otherwise. His soul protective barrier enveloped Wang Qiu within it, so she stopped releasing her golden flames to defend herself, and the two of them landed on the ground as if they had been together the whole time. They were back in that rainbow-colored world, but they were a lot more familiar with their surroundings from their previous experience. Huo Yuao pulled Wang Qiu along the moment they landed and ran towards the edge of the ravine where the jade phosphorus flower of the seven absolutes was growing. Why aren't you breaking through the middle? Have you forgotten its location? Wang Qiu asked confusedly. Huo Yuao said, you said it before. I don't know what unforeseen dangers I may face over there, so I can't just break through the middle. It will be too late if I run into any contingencies, and I have to deal with them on the spot. Furthermore, I also want to test the extent to which these jade phosphorus flowers are afraid of the cold. Wang Qiu glanced at him coldly, and that noble and aloof feeling made Huo Yuao feel as if he was being looked down on. I thought you weren't afraid of dying. Why don't you just throw your life in and get it over with? So, you're afraid of dying after all. I guess I overestimated you before. Huo Yuao snapped. Why would we want to die if we can live? That's enough. Let's not bicker. We are consuming soul power. Take the milk bottle, and I'll have a go. Huo Yuao gave a milk bottle to Wang Qiu just in case she needed it, and the two of them stopped about 30 meters away from the jade phosphorus flowers. The jade phosphorus poison clouds produced by these flowers were still gathered together, but they didn't permeate too far outside, and only loomed over the valley. Their mentality had been greatly affected after their initial astonishment when they first saw these flowers, but Huo Yuao began to feel something different now that he was back here for the second time. It's too neat. Qiu, don't you feel like these flowers are arranged too neatly? Why do I feel like someone did this? Huo Yuao lowered his voice as he spoke. Wang Qiu was momentarily stunned, and couldn't be bothered with bickering anymore. Now that you mention it, it does seem like it. Huo Yuao flipped his right hand, and a water bag appeared in his hands. He released Wang Qiu's hand, and she naturally shifted behind his back as she pressed her right palm against his back so that they could maintain the martial soul fusion. Huo Yuao opened the water bottle and poured out the water from inside. The water that was poured out was immediately frozen in midair by his ultimate ice soul power, and a large sphere of ice quickly appeared before him. Wang Qiu looked on as Huo Yuao did all this, a strange feeling surfacing in her heart. This guy seems to trust me a lot. I'm pressing against a vital point on his back. If I channel my soul power, I can break his nerves and end his life. He's not afraid of that. Humph. Why should I even kill him? Killing him will dirty my hands. Wang Qiu thought to herself arrogantly. The sphere of ice was roughly a foot in diameter. Huo Yuao's left hand was holding it up, and gradually turned icy blue, while the temperature within his protective barrier began to plummet. Huo Yuao shook his wrist, and the enormous ball of ice flew out as it spun through the air. Huo Yuao was a disciple of the Tang Sect, and he had great control over his fingers and wrists. He was using one of the Tang Sect's hidden weapon techniques as he held the ball of ice, which emanated an icy blue radiance as it flew straight out. The multicolored miasma was extremely powerful, and immediately seemed like it was about to attach itself to the sphere of ice once it appeared. However, the sphere of ice contained Huo Yuao's ultimate ice, so how could the miasma attach itself to it so easily? The multicolored particles were blown in all directions wherever this sphere of extreme chill went, and it was clear that the toxic miasma was severely affected after the water vapor inside was frozen. The sphere pierced through the multicolored miasma, and it finally arrived at the bluish-green jade phosphorus poison clouds. Just as Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu had speculated before, these poison clouds were controlled by those flowers that had evolved into the jade phosphorus flower of the 9 absolutes, which were plant-type soul beasts. Large patches of poison clouds were stirred up once this sphere of ice plunged into them, and the bluish-green mist poured forward. However, every kind of poison mist or gas had a unique characteristic. They definitely contained some water within them. Pure smoke or mist dissipated extremely quickly, and there was no way it could drift through the air for a prolonged period of time, and it would be blown away by the wind. Once the poison clouds approached the sphere of ice, Huo Yuao could see that the poison mist was pouring forward into the chill from his ultimate ice, while it produced large volumes of bluish-green particles that drifted in all directions. The area that the poison clouds covered would then increase for an instant, but then quickly thin. Huo Yuao's experiment clearly wasn't as simple as tossing the sphere through the clouds, and he raised his left hand as he clenched it tightly. Boom! The ball of ice immediately exploded, and the ice explosion that Huo Yuao had infused into it unleashed its full force. A violent explosive force immediately caused the sphere to dissipate into countless ice particles that flew in all directions, while the shockwaves swept towards the jade phosphorus flowers around them. Huo Yuao was already using his spiritual detection to meticulously observe how the flowers reacted. The flowers surrounding the vigorous explosion began to sway and tremble like tidal waves, but they were a lot tougher than Huo Yuao had expected. He had infused ice explosion into that sphere of ice, but he wasn't able to blow away even a single petal, and he only managed to make them sway and shake, while their bodies were undamaged. A strange scene occurred just when Huo Yuao was feeling a little disappointed. The bluish-green flowers quickly closed up, as if they were children who were drawing their blankets over themselves because they were afraid of the cold. The flowers 10 meters around the explosion closed up, and the poison clouds in that region became a lot thinner than before. They are afraid of the cold. Huo Yuao was elated. A thought surfaced in his mind as orange gold light radiated, and the tiny snow lady came out from the middle of his eyebrows and hovered next to him. Huo Yuao hurriedly told the snow lady not to leave his soul protective barrier through his mind, so that she wouldn't be hurt by the poisonous clouds outside. Yeah. The snow lady's big dark blue eyes flowed with indifference and contempt. She pointed at the poison clouds outside before she waved her tiny and tender little fingers at Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao was shocked as he asked, "You're not afraid of poison?" Yeah. The snow lady gave him an affirmative answer before she flew out of the protective barrier. Huo Yuao was just feeling a little worried as the orange gold light on her body began to sparkle. Intense chills billowed from her body as the humid miasma in the air began to transform subtly. Large patches of multicolored miasma swiftly began to dissipate as if they had encountered something terrifying, and uncountable multicolored particles drifted to the ground while the air around them cleared up. Both Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu were stunned on the spot. The toxic clouds that they had so feared were like nothing before the little snow lady. What was going on? Idiot. Ultimate ice is the best counter to all the toxins in the world. Didn't you know that? Useless. Skydream's lazy voice appeared in Huo Yuao's mind. Where would I ever know that from? The corner of Huo Yuao's mouth twitched as he spoke in his mind. Why didn't you tell me earlier, brother Skydream? I just woke up. The snow lady turned around in midair and flew back, while the orange gold light radiating from her body wrapped back around to envelop Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu inside. The poisonous clouds around them were instantly dispelled, and there wasn't much left to threaten them at all. Huo Yuao turned towards Wang Qiu as he forced a laugh and said, "It seems like ultimate ice can counter acute poison after all." Wang Qiu frowned and said, "Seems like it. If that's the case, then ultimate fire can probably counter toxins as well." Huo Yuao said, "Let's not talk about all that. Let's take a look and see if we can venture deeper into the valley." They began to walk toward the jade phosphorus flowers while the snow lady protected them. The intense chill from the snow lady's body was a lot stronger than the sphere of ice from before, and both the multicolored miasma and the jade phosphorus poison clouds had no way of fending her off. The flowers closed up one by one as the extreme chill assaulted them, while the surrounding poison clouds dissipated continuously and could no longer threaten the two of them. Ultimate ice can beat all toxins. How did I not know that? It's no wonder Uncle Nui Tian wasn't worried about sending me here at all. Huo Yuao's confidence was greatly boosted with this discovery. He lowered his voice and growled, "Let's go." Huo Yuao grabbed Wang Qiu's hand as they soared into the sky. The jade phosphorus flowers were extremely poisonous and were naturally untouchable, but they had their flying type soul tools. The little snow lady landed on Huo Yuao, and the orange gold light that she released became their best defense. Huo Yuao was afraid that the speed at which the snow lady's chill took effect was limited, so they didn't fly very quickly. However, the mass of jade phosphorus flowers wasn't that wide, and it didn't take long before they pierced through the ravine of death and arrived next to the edge of the valley. The edge of the valley was extremely steep, like it had been cut off by a knife. Multicolored miasma was still concentrated within the jade phosphorus poison clouds, and they blocked Huo Yuao's vision to a large extent. Huo Yuao exchanged a look with Wang Qiu. They had discovered that ultimate ice was a natural counter to acute poison, so the ominous and perilous feeling in her mind was greatly reduced. "Let's fly down." Wang Qiu gestured downwards. Huo Yua nodded and said, be careful. I know that. Wang Qiu rolled her eyes, and her golden dragon spear appeared in her hands with a flash of golden light. Huo Yua carried her as they jumped into the air. The snow lady was still clearing the way for them as they controlled their flying type cell tools and gradually descended into the valley. They swiftly entered the multicolored poison clouds. The ultimate ice was extremely effective at clearing the path ahead, and not a single ounce of the poison cloud broke through to their defenses. This is fantastic. Huo Yua was ecstatic. His adventurous and explorative heart was piqued once more, and he could tell from the current situation that he had a much better chance of finding that mystical herb. The multicolored miasma here was thick, just like it was in the sky. Huo Yua couldn't see anything at all, and he couldn't even detect anything with his spiritual detection. However, he still left his spiritual detection activated, channeling soul power into his protective barrier at the same time, so that he could avoid all possible threats and dangers. What happened next proved that Huo Yua's meticulousness was warranted. A black shadow suddenly appeared soundlessly within his spiritual detection's area of effect, and swept towards them at an alarming speed. Watch out! Huo Yua growled. Hovering in midair at this moment was undoubtedly the most dangerous thing they could do. Huo Yua didn't dare to conserve soul power as he swung his right hand out and instantly slashed through the dense mist with his dark golden terraclaw. His right hand slashed through the air with lightning speed. Using the complete version of his dark golden terraclaw, the snow lady and Huo Yua's mind were connected, and that meant they had exceptional chemistry with one another. She blew in the direction of the attack, and cold energy burst ahead of them. Large patches of poison clouds dissipated and cleared up their vision. It was a dark blue vine dotted with rainbow-colored patterns. It was as thick as a human thigh, and whipped towards them like an enormous python. However, the dark golden terraclaw was the dark golden terraclaw bear's signature move, and Huo Yua gave everything here with this strike. A dark golden streak of light flashed by, and the thick vine was immediately cut into a million pieces as it drifted away in the wind. Huo Yua raised his voice and reminded Wang Qiu, it's clear that there are precious and exotic things here that are extremely beneficial for plant growth. This should a place inhabited by many plant-type soul beasts, and they are extremely powerful. Be careful. Several other thick vines swept towards them at this moment. The rainbow colors on these vines were clearly caused by the toxic miasma, and the fact that they were completely fine meant they probably contained acute venom as well. You control our descent. Let me try. Wang Qiu shouted as she thrust her golden dragon spear forward while she grabbed the other end of it, so that her golden dragon spear could reach the maximum area of effect. She was the golden dragon after all, and she was always dominant and fearsome. Perhaps she had been stifled for too long after dealing with the poison clouds for 2 days, or perhaps this was a cathartic release of her fury towards Huo Yua, but her strike was exceptionally ferocious. She was using her golden dragon spear like a flail. A thick blue vine whipped towards her, and Wang Qiu swung her golden dragon spear towards it like a lightning bolt. A boom could be heard as she smashed the vine into the distance. Vines were typically quite flexible and elastic, and the front parts would still whip forward even if the vine itself was struck. However, the vine didn't react this way as it was struck by the golden dragon spear. The vine flickered with golden light and rippled back into the distance, breaking apart into pieces as it flew through the air. Light circled around the golden dragon spear, and Huo Yua could clearly feel that Wang Qiu's life energy had become a little stronger than before. The golden dragon spear lived up to its name as a god's weapon. It could absorb life energy from its target. Huo Yua felt faintly terrified in his heart, and he was consoling himself on his good fortune when he managed to defeat Wang Qiu that day. Bam, bam, bam. The golden dragon spear waltzed through the sky. Every strike accurately struck the dark blue vines that were whipping toward them, and every single vine eventually disintegrated into pieces. Wang Qiu didn't seem like she was under any pressure at all, even though more vines continued to appear. Golden light continued to flicker around her as she protected Huo Yua and herself impeccably. Huo Yua controlled their descent, but he didn't dare to move too quickly, as he didn't know what awaited them at the bottom. He extended his spiritual detection in the direction of those flying vines and attempted to find their source. He quickly discovered where these vines came from. They were all growing on the cliff, and some of these vines even reached 100 feet long. They could feel Huo Yua and Wang Qiu's presence, so they launched their own attacks. Furthermore, the number of vines growing on the cliff walls increased the further down they went. Let's go further down. The vines are limited in length after all. I can just fly along the cliff wall. Huo Yua took Wang Qiu along as they dropped tens of meters deeper into the valley. The aggressive dark blue vines that were attacking them eventually disappeared, and it was clear that the two of them had exceeded the vines' attack range. An agile mind was enough to help them avoid some problems. They descended a lot faster than before without the blue vines attacking them, and split the clouds open as they pushed ahead. They dropped about 300 meters before the poison clouds around them suddenly cleared out, and their blocked vision instantly became clear. Huo Yua hurriedly controlled their momentum and hovered in midair. It was a lot easier to run into problems if they were attacked when their senses suddenly changed. However, his entire body froze right when he stopped in midair, and Wang Qiu was equally stunned. They had been extremely careful and vigilant ever since the day they entered the setting sun forest, and kept their guards up against any possible dangers that could appear. They knew that their expedition wouldn't be smooth sailing or relaxed when they discovered the toxic miasma, the multicolored miasma, the jade phosphorus flowers of the seven absolutes, the jade phosphorus poison clouds, and the venomous vines growing from the valley's walls. Every single entity could have been fatal. This place was protected by so many fatal poisons. So what kind of sinister place was this? But what was before Huo Yua and Wang Qiu now far exceeded their expectations. They had pierced through the multicolored poison clouds, and what they breathed in was an unprecedented fresh air full of life energy. The place they were looking at wasn't sinister at all. It felt like heaven on earth. The air was completely covered by the rainbow-colored clouds, and the rainbow colors shone and reflected over the valley, making it appear extremely enchanting. The valley walls in the distance were full of the dark blue vines that had ambushed them just now, and the entire wall looked like it was made from sapphires that flickered with a faint rainbow-colored luster. The valley couldn't be considered large, but many different plants were growing within it, while there were just too many colors to count as they gazed across it. There were so many beautiful flowers, and each was prettier than the last, bearing all sorts of fruits. Many plants shone with varying degrees of light, and one could tell even with the naked eye that these plants were exotic and extraordinary. The most astonishing thing was the lake in the middle of these plants. The lake was clearly separated into two parts. One side was icy blue in color and it exuded a faint white air, while the other side was fiery red, and the light above this side was slightly distorted. One part was blue and the other was red, and these two parts were like colossal jewels engraved into the ground. The waters evaporating from this lake permeated the dense life energy from the lake all over the valley. Ever since Huo Yua became a soul master, he had to absorb the vital energy of heaven and earth whenever he had to train using his mysterious heaven technique. However, he had never encountered a place with vital energy as strong as the paradise that he was in right now. Not even Clear Sky Peak could compare to this place. Huo Yua had only felt this overwhelming vital energy from the frigid jade essence bed that was now broken. However, the frigid jade essence bed had only contained pure cold and iciness, while this mystical world that they were in contained almost every single element, and also vast amounts of life energy. Their eyes grew slack from their awe and astonishment. Everything before their eyes was just too enchanting and pristine. This is a paradise. Wang Qiu's voice was trembling. Her body shone with faint golden mist, as if she responding to and reciprocating with the thick life energy within this valley. I am certain that there is nowhere else on the Douluo continent that is as suitable for plant growth as this place is. The life energy in this place is at least 5 times that of the Great Stardo Forest's core region. How can there be such a place on the continent? It's possible that someone is protecting this place, too. Wang Qiu had the same opinion as Huo Yua did. Neither of them believed that the jade phosphorus flowers outside had grown out by themselves. Their arrangement was just too neat. Huo Yua heaved a sigh of admiration and said, "You do need formidable power to protect a paradise such as this. This place is just too beautiful. Why does the lake have 2 different colors? What is it, exactly? Do you know?" Wang Qiu shook her head and said, "I'm not an encyclopedia. How can I possibly know everything? Let's go down. There are no more miasmic clouds here." Huo Yua said, "But I feel like this place is even more dangerous than before. Have you not felt that most of the plants here have evolved into plant-type soul beasts? Because the life energy in this place is overwhelmingly dense." Wang Qiu was momentarily stunned, and gazed downwards carefully. Many plants had begun to sway because they had appeared, and some had even turned in their direction, while other plants shone more intensely. "What should we do?" Wang Qiu asked. We can't just turn back, since we're already here. The greatest disadvantage that plant-type soul beasts had compared to animal soul beasts was mobility. Many plants couldn't move around, and were just rooted to the spot, so their attack and control range was limited to an area with their bodies at the center. This was like the vines that they had encountered on the cliff walls. They couldn't reach beyond their maximum length and distance to attack the two of them. However, plant-type soul beasts were extremely formidable in the range that they could reach, and were possibly stronger than animal soul beasts in this respect. This was the reason why even exceptionally powerful animal soul beasts wouldn't want to come to a place where many plant-type soul beasts were gathered. Huo Yue took out his map and looked at the map's lower part. The map that Nui Tian had drawn was separated into two parts. The first part depicted the setting sun forest and the valley's rough location within the forest, while the second, more simplified part depicted the location of the book that he had described in his letter. Nui Tian had repeatedly reminded him in the letter that Huo Yue had to find the book before he began his search for the yearning heartbroken grass. Huo Yue was extremely clear about this. From prior experience, he deeply believed that everything that Nui Tian had said in the letter was important. They were already inside the valley, so the most important thing for them was to find the book that detailed the plants inside and their characteristics. Huo Yue scrutinized the simplified map in his hands while he carefully matched it against the landscape beneath him. This map was a little too simple, drawn with lines to create a minimal outline. However, Huo Yue quickly found the things that were marked out, and the lines did draw the dual-colored lake. He continued to match the landscape against his map as he drifted forward with his flying type soul tool so that he could match their location with what was drawn on the map. The map was simple, but the markings were clear, and Huo Yue quickly found his target. According to the map's instructions, his target was located at the shore where the lake's blue and red parts intersected. There was a flower drawn at that rough location on the map to show that the book was there. They were in the air, but Huo Yue's spirit eyes made it extremely easy for him to directly lock onto a plant beneath him. It was an enormous light pink flower that didn't have any leaves. Its stem was almost 10 feet long, and its flower was huge. Its diameter more than 3 feet across. Every single petal was almost transparent as if they were water crystals, and the light pink flower swayed along with the mist in the air. It grew on the shore next to where the lake's red and blue water joined. Huo Yue paid attention to it because it was simply too enchanting and riveting. Its body was also located where the two bodies of water joined, and another reason was because there were no other plants within 100 feet of it. This plant therefore stood out in a valley that was filled with plants. Huo Yue studied it, and realized that there were other plants with similar characteristics, and also other plants with no other plants in a radius around them. These plants shared the same traits. They were either extremely peculiar, or they were just otherworldly beautiful, and they shone with varying degrees of light. That enormous flower should be what we're looking for, Huo Yue said to Wang Qiu, and he directed her with spiritual detection so that she could also locate their target. Do you know what flower that is? Huo Yue asked Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu shook her head and said, I can't tell. At least, I have never seen something like that inside the Great Stardow Forest. However, I have a feeling that the plants contain more energy the closer they are to the dual-colored lake. Plants like this one, that are next to the lake and occupy such a huge territory, have probably evolved into soul beasts, and plant-type soul beasts are more formidable than animal-type soul beasts in the range that they can control. Are you sure the book is located there? What have you discovered? Huo Yue shook his head as he forced a smile. He had already channeled spiritual detection to the highest possible level to detect a single spot when he found this enormous flower. The light pink flower seemed to emanate a pale light mist that blocked off his spiritual power entirely, while it was obvious that the book was nowhere to be found in the open ground around it. The book would probably have been decomposed by this humid environment if it had been placed on the ground just like that. It seems like we have to go closer to investigate. Huo Yue lowered his voice as he spoke. Wang Qiu said, let me go. Cover me. She was just about to move, but Huo Yue pulled her back and said, did you not say that these plants are typically afraid of heat and cold? Let me go. You cover me. Don't worry. I will be extremely careful. Wang Qiu shot a glare in his direction, but she didn't dispute his words. She was confident that she wasn't inferior to Huo Yue in terms of fighting strength, but she knew that she wasn't as versatile as he was. Furthermore, Huo Yue was adept with soul tools, and he was definitely a lot better than she was at running for his life. Huo Yue gradually descended through the air towards that large light pink flower. He had raised his vigilance to the highest possible level. His right hand's dark gold and terra claw was extended, while the soul thruster on his chest was charged as much as it could be. He could immediately escape if something were to go wrong. Diamond crystals transformed into armor and enveloped his entire body, and his entire body began to sparkle under the brilliant lights. Huo Yue also released a little of his domain of perpetual ice, and maintained the area of effect at 1 meter around him while he continuously emanated extremely chilly energy. The valley's plants seemed exceptionally calm as he drifted down through the air, and not a single plant attempted to attack him. Huo Yue chose to land on the edge of the empty space around that enormous flower. Huo Yue was just telling himself that his defenses were raised to the highest possible level, when a faint aroma suddenly wafted into his nostrils. Huo Yue was stunned for a moment before he felt goosebumps break out all over his body in the next moment. How could I have forgotten about that? I calculated everything, but I failed to realize that the fragrance from these plants can also be an attack. Huo Yue subconsciously stopped breathing as he placed his dark gold and terra claw before his chest, while he channeled the soul power within his body with all his might in an attempt to force out the aroma that he had just inhaled. His ultimate ice was extremely effective as a counter to most toxins. After all, Huo Yue was astonished at this moment, but he wasn't panicky at all. However, another situation that exceeded his expectations happened again. The smell immediately integrated with his body once it entered, and he couldn't force it out because he simply couldn't find it within his body. What made Huo Yue even more astonished was that the aroma refreshed his mind, and he felt like his tense nerves were relaxed before this brain became clear and smooth. Even though he had only inhaled a minuscule amount, it was enough to make him feel as if his body and soul had been rinsed by clean water, and he felt an indescribable comfort over his entire body. This was the first time he had experienced this sensation ever since he had entered the setting sun forest. What's going on? Why am I having such sensations? Does this mean that the large flower's aroma isn't harmful or poisonous? Huo Yue was about to experiment further by inhaling a little bit more when the pink flower suddenly lit up. A pink layer of light with a plant at the center appeared, and it reached about 100 feet in diameter as it encompassed all the open ground around it, and Huo Yue as well. Huo Yue began to half squat. He didn't run away immediately, as he had to try his best to understand more and experience more about this place, or this expedition would be wasted. Furthermore, even though he wasn't yet considered a top-tier soul master, he had his twin martial souls and an ultimate martial soul, so his fighting strength was comparable to most 7-ringed soul sages. Huo Yue was also relatively confident in his own abilities. What surprised him was that he didn't feel very different after that pink light appeared. He took a small breath, and he felt as if the aroma was becoming denser. The sensations he felt in his body were even better than before, and that smooth and comforting feeling made him feel better at controlling and manipulating his soul power. Huo Yue was a spiritual type soul master, and he could immediately tell that the aroma had a rejuvenating effect. The aroma was energizing, and made him feel exceptionally comfortable at the same time, to the point where he felt at peace, and his state of mind was lifted to an unprecedented level. However, those weren't things that Huo Yue wanted. He began to move once he could tell that the pink light dome didn't cause him any harm. An orange gold light flickered as the little snow lady appeared on his shoulder. The snow lady was even more flexible with her control of ultimate ice, and she didn't need to consume too much of Huo Yue's soul power. The snow lady raised her little finger under Huo Yue's direction, and an icy blue streak of light fired towards one of the enormous flower's petals. The streak of light struck the flower petal, and it was immediately converted into a circle of icy blue light that expanded outward. Ultimate ice wasn't a joke, and this temperature that was more than 100 degrees below zero was absolutely fatal for plants. The enormous pink flower quivered, and its purple stamen rippled as the pink light immediately rippled from its body. This light was a lot denser than the dome around them, and Huo Yue could feel a sense of majesty in all this. The giant pink flower shook faintly in the next moment, and the chilly energy carried by the snow lady's attack vanished. A fiery red streak fired out from behind it. However, it wasn't going for Huo Yue and the snow lady. Instead, it transformed into a fiery red flower that was similar in structure to the original flower, but was 1/10 the size. How strange. This was the first time that Hua Yua had seen anything like this, and it was truly miraculous. There was no question that this enormous pink flower was a plant-type soul beast, but the surprising thing was that its offensive capabilities weren't that strong. The fiery red light didn't come from its own body, it came from the red part of the jewel-colored lake behind it. At this moment, Hua Yua began to feel as if something wasn't right. Even though he had the Ice Empress armor protecting him, the air around him had become exceedingly dense, while the temperature changes were very intense. He was located at the intersection between the lake's two parts, and this feeling was most obvious in this region. The blue lake water was cold, while the red lake water was a lot warmer. These two bodies seemed to be in conflict, but there was nothing one side could do to the other. If it hadn't been for his Ice Empress armor, Hua Yua would have been affected by the temperature in this place with his current cultivation. This was especially true as the dense vital energy in the air around him didn't seem very welcoming to him. He attempted to absorb a little bit of it, but was immediately impeded by the temperature shocks caused by the jewel-colored lake. It felt as if these two varying temperatures had already integrated into the vital energy of heaven and earth, and that energy was now especially violent and aggressive. But Hua Yua couldn't just give up just like that. The snow lady raised her little hands under Hua Yua's direction, and another icy blue ray of light fired out toward that enormous flower. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.